Hi everybody, how you doing? Back in the studio here in Florida, and welcome to the Monday edition of Moohead Radio. I'm your host, a big and furry bovine. For the next however long I feel like it, I'll be talking about some of the things that you're not seeing on Twitter or seeing on the internet as people continue to argue about the most ridiculous things you can imagine. We fucking won the game. Shut the fuck up. That's my message today. But I wanted to start with talking about Kevin Stefanski's press conference today. And I just take one little morsel out of this because I really don't usually put much into this. But when people are just either thick, bullheaded, or stupid, I call it out because I don't get paid. I don't get paid to do this. And I'm not trying to curry favor with anyone. All right. Here's the question. You're going to love this. We talked a lot in the offseason about Cedric Tillman and just the leap that you guys were hoping he could make in his second year. Just what can a performance like Sunday, where he's targeted as much as he is and he produced as much as he did, what can that do for him? What can that do for you and Ken Dorsey as far as really using him going forward now? I mean, that's a fair question. The answer, though, is stupid. He says, this is Stefanski's answer. Yeah, it's interesting having, you're right. We've talked about said a lot and didn't have the opportunities earlier in the season. And there's nothing that said was doing or wasn't doing, but feel really comfortable with where he is, feel confident with where he is. I thought said played really well. I think the entire receiver room played really, really well yesterday. I think, again, credit to them, credit to their coaches, but I thought those guys not only made plays in the pass game, but they competed like crazy in the run game as well. This is Kevin Stefanski, all right? Yes, there were opportunities to play him, you cocksucker, earlier in the season. You were the one who decided by calling certain plays that he would not play. That's the first thing. Then when you throw him one ball over the middle and he drops it, then you don't want to play him anymore. You see how this works? And this is horseshit. It really is. Let's say what the truth is. I never saw Anthony Schwartz suddenly have a 9 reception and basically a 100-yard, 99-yard game. I never saw that before. I never saw him score 2 touchdowns in a game. I never saw all these other bozo wide receivers that you, Kevin Stefanski, have played week after week. I've never seen them have breakout days like this. So what's the story? Morning glory. And the answer is, I'm going to be vague because I'm Kevin Stefanski, and whenever the light shines on me, I'll just go pontificating about something else, about how everybody did good, not just said, but, well, the question was about said, okay? We were talking about Tillman. We weren't talking about the other wide receivers. When we want to talk about them, we will specifically ask about them by name. It's just kind of the way the English language works. And if you want to control the conversation by just saying, well, we just didn't have the opportunities earlier in the season, you fucked up. And you hurt a young player's confidence and decided to play people who did not give you the best chance to win. All right. That's all I wanted to say about the whole goddamn press conference this morning, because it's just going over injuries and all that kind of stuff. What I really want to talk about initially is Why are fans still talking about Deshaun Watson? Why? I mean, Brent Sobleski, he goes on the, on social media and he says, I said this all along. I said this all along. This is what I said. And it's like, why are you still talking about him? He's in the past. He's done. You got what you wanted. He's done. He's never going to play here again. Okay? It doesn't mean anything anymore. It's just dwelling on something unduly negative, which is all you fuckers do. Complain, complain, complain. I never told you that I think Deshaun Watson, after having the time off that he had, as I frankly said, he didn't really look like his old self, but maybe he can regain some of it. Then with the injuries, I started really wondering. When I saw Flacco last year, what I was wondering about more than anything was how fast the ball was getting from the quarterback's hands to the receivers. When Watson played, how it just seemed to take forever for the ball to get there. The other thing is, just like Flacco, Jameis Winston was able to get rid of the ball, and the ball was on a line, and it got to the receiver, whether it was outside the numbers or inside in the middle of the field. I never saw that from Deshaun Watson. My belief is that Deshaun Watson's shoulder never healed because he used to throw better than that. And I've seen quarterbacks like Cam Newton who lost their arm strength, and that's really what happens with shoulder injuries. The ball just wobbles. When he would roll out to his left and try to throw across his body, the ball wouldn't go anywhere. It would just dunk right into the ground. Which gives me an opportunity to say something else. Why are you still talking about Joe Flacco? He plays for the Colts and he can't get on the field. Even though Richardson is horrible, he can't get on the field. So why don't you talk to the Colts about that? All right? He's not a Cleveland Brown. He was only a Cleveland Brown for a partial part of the season. The team whose ass we kicked yesterday, he belonged to them. Okay? We don't need to be talking about him anymore. He's not a Cleveland Brown. And if you're a Browns fan, you should just drop it, man. Live in the now, not in the past. Don't create more misery than what we've already lived through in the past. That would be like if I said, and welcome to the show. Today we'll be analyzing Red Right 88. I mean, come on. Move forward. It's called progressive thinking. Maybe I'm asking for too damn much. I don't know. So at any rate, there's that. Jameis Winston looked exactly to me like Joe Flacco. Didn't run the ball. Ran play action a large part of the time. Stayed in the pocket. Made his reads. Definitively threw the ball. Got the ball into the hands of his wide receivers. And just like that, oh yeah, that's a scar. You mean, yep, that's a scar right over here. Everything's backwards. Yes, that's a scar. No, it was not a suicide attempt. They call me Scar Neck. But he looked just like Flacco. And any qualified NFL quarterback who has time to throw the football will be able to do his progressions and throw the ball in the general vicinity of his wide receivers and give them a chance to catch the football. All right. But there's something else. Everyone seems to forget about the Flacco interceptions, not just the 2 pick sixes in the game that mattered, but he had a lot of picks prior to that. And Jameis Winston's the same guy. He throws a lot of interceptions, and he threw a bunch of them yesterday. It's just the Ravens didn't catch them, but they were in a position to, especially Hamilton. That game, was lost because Hamilton just couldn't rein in a pass that was thrown in stride right to him. But that's Jameis Winston. I see people on social media now saying, I think we should make a long-term commitment to Jameis Winston. I mean, did you marry the first woman you fucked? I mean, be real about this. You were just really high after your first date, and so you proposed? God, thank God you're not running a business. Holy cow. No wonder you don't see how bad Jimmy Haslam is. Shit, you're as impulsive as he is. I'm thrilled with the job Jameis Winston did, and I understand what his strengths and his weaknesses are. I'll give you his strengths so you don't think I'm being negative about our new starting quarterback, which also Stefanski made clear that it was him and not DTR. Thank the Lord. All right. The strengths of Jameis Winston is that he's a vocal leader, which I always thought that Deshaun Watson was never a vocal leader. He was never somebody who could rile up the troops. Football is a game, honestly, of violence and adrenaline and manhood. And you challenge yourself, you challenge your teammates, but you do it in a positive way. And you get people really ready to play. And you get them to hulk up. You know, brother, hulk up. Jameis Winston's good at that because he's a preacher. And you heard that in his pregame and postgame interviews, although, you know, there was God in the pregame and then there was Eminem in the postgame. So that was an interesting thing. But he is a very emotional guy. And when he fumbled that ball, which wasn't his fault, that was all on DeJuan Jones. That was not on him. He can't expect that the guy blitzing from the opposite side is going to make it all the way over to him that quickly and hit him from behind. But the first thing he did is he pointed to himself at his chest and said, that's on me. That's on me. You never see Deshaun Watson do that. Never. Wouldn't see Baker Mayfield do it either. The fact of the matter is, when people are full of themselves, they're full of themselves. When they need nicotine patches on their arms to get psyched up, better to have the Lord than to have substance. That's what I say. Although all the players in football probably end up with some kind of substance issue because they're playing through pain all the time. So I like that about Jameson. He's a rah-rah guy, and he gets people behind him and behind the team and behind each other. And they needed that because the damn fans who were cheering injuries and shit like that. They need to wipe out all the negativity. You see, the fans are sheep. You have to understand. Sheep. You win. You lose, though, and they turn on you. Ask Santa in Philadelphia. Turn on you. They won. But, you know, some of the doubting Thomases are still really questioning about, you know, geez, does this win really mean anything? Did we hurt ourselves because draft position? And I'm like, oh, you got to be kidding me. Anytime you can beat the Ravens, you beat the Ravens. Anytime you can shove a large, obtuse angle up Joe Shipley's asshole, you do it. Anytime that there's fuel for me to keep repeating that Lamar Jackson is overrated, let's do it. Real simple. And you see how animated I am? As opposed to the previous games where it's like, oh, God, there is just no freaking hope. Hey, if they try, if they cut down on the mistakes, that's all I ask. Try, effort. It's really important. Here's the Moose. Hey, Bronk. Bronk is just peering at me. He's not Unmute your mic. Unmute your mic, my friend.
Unmute my mic.
Hi.
I was having a nap because you're actually an hour earlier today, even though you don't think you are, because we put our clocks back and it's only like 9 in the evening here.
Oh, are you kidding? Did I forget to do that?
No, we put our clocks back, but you don't do it
that's a
till
Brit
next
thing. That's
week.
like scones and tea and heavy
Yeah.
cream with strawberries. Okay, yeah.
And out Randy Lerner and all that shit. Yeah.
Yeah.
Randy Lerner.
Yeah. Why are you like zoomed in ultra zoom mode?
Well, no, because it's my phone. It's not my PC.
Oh, your
That's why
phone. Your
my
phone.
food. I'd like a food.
So,
Stu Peter Sellers. I'd like you.
It,
Yeah, that's for all the young
of
people.
course it's a fun.
It's a boom. It's a boom.
So, yeah, I'm just going over what it's amazing what people are complaining about. They're either said beating themselves on the chest saying, I was right about this. And it's like, move on.
I had to join in the show.
Forever.
Even though I'm not awake, I had to join the show because I saw the show title pop up on my notifications that said the Ravens are pussies. And I thought, yes, this is something I want to be a part of.
Yeah, and let me explain that comment because
Please,
a lot of people will complain about that. And
no, I'm applauding it. I'm like getting my moose hoofs and I'm like all over that shit. Anything that says Ravens are pussies, I can't get enough of.
Well, now my story isn't coming up, and that's really unfortunate. But
no,
I know basically
just
the gist of it. I don't know the name of the player who said this, but it was a story that said how the Ravens were explaining their loss to the Browns, and the only answer that I could think of is shame. Like we always say, yeah, Jim, I'm back in Florida. It's pure shame. It's like you can't lose to the Browns, for God's sakes. No.
You have to do the Andy Rooney voice. Why is it that we lost?
Well, no. They asked one of the linemen for the Ravens, and I can't drop a name because I don't really care about that team. But
anyway,
what he said was, well, we know who should have won this game. We all know that. I mean, why I oughta. What does that mean? You know, that's like people saying, I think God chose, name of candidate, to be the next president of the United States. I mean, it's like, no. You voted, you stupid fuck, and other people voted too. And then there are the billionaires who vote 150,000 times to your one. So fuck you. You know, all these excuses. Well, everyone knows that we should have won. Yet the league knows, they just didn't give us enough calls. I don't know what that means.
What does it mean? What does it mean?
No. Yeah. And that's the reason that I felt too, Jim.
I can't see these comments because they're too small on my phone.
Jim Giles says maybe a couple less bombs downfield. I mean, yeah, perhaps if they make the tackle on Tillman on the first slant, instead of letting him go release free off the line of scrimmage and let him ramble into the end zone. And then if the guy who was allegedly covering him would have actually turned around and run
and look for the ball. Yeah. How about fucking
looking in the backfield, for God's sakes?
How about Kyle Hamilton and being able to not able to catch a fucking pass?
Well, you know, there are a lot of reasons why the Ravens lost the game, but I'm going to say it outright. They were outplayed. They were outplayed.
Yeah.
They didn't play well enough to win.
Yeah.
They weren't playing a good team. I'll grant you that.
No. Yeah, absolutely.
How many times have we been in the same situation where we said, God, you know, we could have won that game?
We He should
everybody
have won
feels
that game.
in a close game, you know.
Yeah.
But this is different because the Ravens kicker, he looks like a peg leg pirate now to me. He doesn't have the distance he used to have.
Oh yeah. Let's fucking shit on Justin Tucker, the guy that's gonna go in the Hall of Fame, and he had a shitty game and lost the game for him.
Well, I mean, he just lacks the distance. He used to boom those balls, and now he's not getting it there from 50.
Yeah, no, it looks like Austin fucking Siebert.
Yeah, he actually he grounded his club. I mean,
Yeah, whatever.
No, in the game yesterday, I was watching him kick, and he just hit the ground first with his foot. You know, he's like turf flying. It was like me with a 9-iron.
Wow. No, that'd be like me with a 3-iron, but anyway.
He chunked it. Unbelievable. Yeah. And it's not that he's had a shitty year, Jim. It's that the last 2 years have been a rapid decline. And when you see Dustin Hopkins kick it from 50 without a problem, and it hits above the middle of the goalpost, but bounces in, fortunately for us, then you know that Hopkins can kick the ball much further than Tucker. And that was not the case in the past.
Yeah, Tucker just sort of like ran out of jizz on that kick, didn't he? Yeah.
It just died. There's no life on what he's kicking.
No, there's no sperm in his kick. Or kicking his sperm, one or the other.
And Jim, what my father always said, if the queen had balls, she'd be king. I mean, there's just every rationalization. Sorry, Bronk, I didn't mean to really step on your country. But
well, go ahead.
Everybody's got an excuse, for God's sakes.
But the Peter Alice play of the day has to be the play that's all over my timeline, with the guy bantering the Commanders fans, and then he runs back and tip. You gotta get well,
I mean, yeah, I'm sure everybody knows about that, and that was the first thing I actually had queued up. Tyreek Stevenson. The thing that was amazing about it, his back was turned to the line of scrimmage when the ball was snapped.
How Browns is that? Now people shit on the Browns.
And the game wasn't won yet, but it was more than that. It was like there were two reasons that the Bears lost.
Yeah.
Well, obviously, Tyreek Stevenson is like the icing on the cake, but Matt Eberflus as a head coach has to go.
Yeah,
I mean, nobody hands a ball off to an offensive tackle at the line of scrimmage. And this is the kind of logic that just leaves me speechless. It's like, okay, we have a short yardage on the goal line to take the lead in this game. It's imperative that we get in. And I've got my quarterback lined up, and my quarterback is Caleb Williams. He's a big guy. And I got an offensive lineman in front of him, much like Stefanski would do with who's the Nick Harris back when
Nick Harris.
And I think
he's dead. But anyway,
and he would be a lead blocker for somebody like Hunt, Kareem Hunt, and blast the hole open. Yeah, so I understand that. But how in God's name do you end up doing the handoff to the offensive lineman? So it ends up getting fumbled, and the other team recovers, and Matt Eberflus is picking his nose on the sidelines. It's really unbelievably stupid.
It's like Kevin Stefanski stopped calling plays, but the league made up for that vacuum, that vortex, and they made Harbaugh call stupid plays. They made the Bears call stupid plays. They made the Bears defense do stupid. I mean, it was like the vortex had to be filled somehow with stupidity. Well,
I mean, there's no doubt in my mind that the things that we saw from the Ravens, nobody wants to say, oh, it's because of that one thing. No, it was a multitude of things. If you looked at the opportunities they had that they let slip through their hands, the bad fourth down calls, The
Oh God, they
decisions,
were horrible.
yeah, just bad. And Harbaugh's not a play caller, and I know Monken. They want to believe
Terrible.
that they are turning their quarterback into a great throwing quarterback, but the fact is, if it weren't for Derrick Henry, they wouldn't be where they are. Make no
Yeah.
mistake, it's still the ground game that's king. Because when we stopped that ground game, it was the same Lamar Jackson who tries to rush at the end of the games and close, but no cigar, because they
Yeah.
can't score enough points, touchdown points. And now they have
Yeah.
a problem with their field goal kicker on top of it. They're not getting
Yeah, I
into the
know.
end zone like they should.
Yeah, they're in danger of not winning the division. All these fuckers that think they're going to win the Super Bowl, they're a bunch of pussies.
Well, I
They're
mean,
all pussies.
and here's what Matt Eberflus said about that whole thing
Okay,
in
yeah. Let's hear
Chicago.
what he says.
When it comes down to that last play, and we've practiced that play 100 times since we've been here, I'll have to
100
look at
times.
what the execution was on that. But we have a body on a body, boxing guys out like basketball at the very end. We have
Right.
one guy at the rim that knocks the ball down. We've got a tip guy that goes behind the pile. I've got to look at it. Well, let me save you some time, you stupid fuck. There was nobody behind except the receiver. All right.
Correct. Absolutely
The guy
correct.
who was jumped up to bat it down, tipped it up in the air, and there was
Yeah.
nobody behind. All right. Boxing out guys, they didn't box anybody
No.
out because that guy trickled right into the end zone untouched. They didn't execute that play at all. The only thing that should be executed are first, the player who's taunting the fans and doesn't have his head in the right place
I
when
think
the
that's
game is
hilarious.
still going on at the play that matters the most. Second of all, Matt Eberflus. Those two people need to be executed. They need to be fired. There's no excuse for this kind of stuff. It's just dumb.
That was so Browns-like, though. That's my point. I mean, everything that happened to these teams was like what happens to us normally in a normal week. It was just amazing. And if we had done that, the national media would have crucified us.
Yeah, and then Mary Kay Cabbagehead. Jameis Winston turns tears into cheers. I was never crying. I was furious. And I'm still
we were
furious
just angry.
that Jimmy Haslam owns the team. Fuck him.
Yeah, James Haslam the third. Yes.
There will never
know what?
be. Go ahead.
Do you want my tasteless line of the day? My tasteless line of the day is that the wrong Jimmy is dead. So there you go.
Oh, thank you for that. That was good.
I had to come on here and be
Mr. Moohead would say.
I had to come on and do something really tasteless. And I'll just and it goes along with the same thing that the wrong two Beatles are dead too. There's a lot of wrong people that are dead out there in the world. So
yeah.
Anyway.
And David Talevsky's asking this question, which other people are asking: who's going to win the AFC North now? The Ravens will.
The Steelers. No, Steelers are going to win.
I just don't see that for the length of a 17-game season that the Steelers. I mean, going back and forth
because
it will go back and forth
they'll
from
win it somehow.
From Russell Wilson, it'll go back and forth to Justin Fields.
Yeah.
It reminds me a lot of the Mason Rudolph / who was the other clown?
Ducky Bedwick. Ducky,
but whatever.
Ducky guy, the duck guy.
Yeah. Duck Devlin.
Whatever.
Right. And they kept going back and forth, and neither was the proper option. By the time they realized that, the season was over. I think that's the Steelers. And the Browns are too far behind, and they're not good enough.
God.
They're just getting injured left and right. So they're not
No,
going
we're going to win all the next 10 games.
To have.
We're going to win the next 10 games and win the Super Bowl now. Now all of our problems are solved.
It's just not. But the fact is, I'm not crying about the Cleveland Browns.
No, we were
not being good,
furious.
and then people are saying, well, Jameis Winston should be our long-term quarterback, a franchise quarterback. And it's like, no. And then other people saying you got to draft a quarterback, but for the near future, it's all got to be Jameis Winston. Yes, but that implies that you
Okay.
know how to draft the right quarterback. And
Yeah,
why
exactly.
don't you ask the Panthers about that? Oh, we'll take Bryce Young. That's what
Bryce
we'll do.
Young.
We'll take him. And then Andy Dalton is fucking playing. It's like,
And then he wrecks his car and it's not playing or whatever.
and
I
it
don't know
took
who they
Bo
got.
Nix this long to have a decent game, but he did it against the
The
Panthers.
Panthers?
Okay. So, wait a minute. The gong of truth is back. And,
The Gong of Truth. What about the BCOD? Is he back?
no, I don't,
He is, isn't he?
I don't know. I put him away somewhere.
You
I've had
hit him.
enough
You hit him.
bad
And that's
vibes
why
this
your
year.
house is still there. If your house wasn't there, it'd been the BCOD's fault.
I'll take your word for that. Now, again, you have to draft
Pointing
the
my
right
finger.
quarterback, and we've never drafted the right quarterback. And
No.
and anybody with a brain knows that you play the veteran until the rook is ready. We did it with Danielson for Kosar. We did it with Mike Phipps for Brian Sipe. It was
We even did it
that's
with
what you do.
Mayfield. Wait a minute. That blew that argument.
Yeah. But
Tyrod Taylor.
that's the way it usually works.
Yeah.
Does anyone believe we can be 5-6? David's asking, going into the Denver game.
Well,
No,
David does.
no,
No.
not. Now, if this team were capable of putting that many good games back to back, we wouldn't be where we are. This ship would have been
Down,
righted.
yeah.
And what people you see, y'all are like too high or too low. And you got to be
Correct.
smooth in the middle, because
you got to be like Santana, so smooth.
Every game, we keep losing players. So JOK,
correct,
who's up and walking and talking, but I'm sure he had a stinger. All right, and
is he not okay?
He's okay,
How
but
is
I
he?
don't know that he's going to be
Is he
playing
okay?
anytime soon. Huh?
Is he okay? Or is he not okay?
Oh.
JOK.
Yes, thank you.
You're not getting sucked into this one, are you?
No, because I keep losing my train of thought. But every single time we get one group of players healthy, another group goes down, and there were more guys who got hurt yesterday, and the offensive line was better, and it's amazing. It's like,
it was.
You find it a coincidence that the offensive line was blocking for Jameis Winston? You think that they were doing that on purpose to get Deshaun Watson hurt? And I mean,
what idiot has said
reading
that?
all of this shit. And here's the deal. The play that Jameis Winston fumbled the ball, that was Jawan Jones picking his ass and not blocking.
Well, he does that.
Yes.
Yeah.
But
he
it's better than Jed Wills, who is just
who
not
just shows
interested
up where the
in playing
quarterback
football.
is.
But for the first time, we had the primary group. We moved Wand over to the left side.
Out there.
You had a Pussies in. You had Wyatt Teller in. You had Tonio in. So you had you had your guys. So that's the reason the protection was better, because you had responsible veteran players who were doing that. So that's the reason. It's not like some conspiracy theory, and I know you people are prone to conspiracy.
Somebody really
theories.
said that they weren't blocking on purpose because Watson was back there. Somebody
that
is
just satisfies their hate.
Fucking dickheads.
And it's like, you don't need to hate him. You don't.
He's gone now.
He's gone. He's never going to play for the Browns again. He's gone.
He's never going to play anywhere again.
Well, if he does, that's fine. It's like Baker Mayfield, who's 4-4. Your hero to some of you. He's 4-4, and he threw 2 more interceptions. You dumb fucks. You just don't want to see the truth.
Not only interceptions, but get the gong of truth out. They were in the fucking red zone, I believe, both of them. He threw away fucking touchdowns. So
there's a lot of different ways that quarterbacks can make mistakes. They're 2 games out from the wild card position. Yeah, the AFC hasn't been real great. I'll give you that. But
Yeah.
they have to. They can't sustain winning streaks because they're not that good. And I'm not trying to be insulting. I'm just
No,
being
you're not.
truthful.
Because if you tried, you'd be more insulting.
Yeah, the roster isn't going to hold up. I
No,
mean,
well,
that's, you know,
whoop, like a cat staring at me.
and
Eee.
here's another thing. Headline: Will Jameis Winston take the Browns on a Joe Flacco-esque ride? I hope not. I don't want to go to
No,
Houston and throw 2 pick sixes again
no,
and play like shite. I don't want that. I don't want a rerun of that. Maybe that's what the
no.
Browns fans want. But that's not what I want. I want a team that has a legitimate chance of winning something, and this team does not have that legitimate chance because they're short of personnel. And that's the front office because they didn't draft any people. They got rid of their draft booty to bring in a player who didn't work out. Meanwhile, if you didn't hear this great news,
No, I probably
Jameis
didn't.
Winston nominated for FedEx Air Player of the Week. Why can't he just be
Woohoo!
the fucking NFL Player of the Week? Why FedEx? Why do they have to sell every goddamn thing?
They don't even
It's just
sell anything. They just deliver stuff. God
it's
damn it.
money lust. No, I mean the NFL is money lust. The
Oh, money
FedEx
lost. Oh,
Air
yeah.
Player of the Week.
Money lost.
God, it's just unbelievable.
Ah.
You know. So, but I give Jameis Winston all credit. I don't give credit to the Lord. I give credit to Jameis Winston because he kept his head together in a tough time, and you could tell he was deep breathing and doing a lot of self-calming exercises on the sideline and between plays and during timeouts. But he executed that pass to Cedric Tillman. I mean, look at Lamar Jackson. He had Zay Flowers wide open
You
for an
did.
easy touchdown and overthrew him by 3-4 yards.
He did.
And Cedric Tillman was wide open, and this one was right on the money. So say what you will, Jameis Winston overcame butterflies and the harsh realities of what Cleveland crowds can do to quarterbacks who don't win because we've had such good practice with them. He overcame that and he made the big play. And I give him nothing but credit.
Yes.
So, and this is a strange year, but I really believe that the defensive strategy in the NFL has changed. And you notice like the Kansas City Chiefs aren't running up big scores and teams aren't just going up and down the field scoring big points. And you're noticing also the adjustments that were made to the Commanders quarterback. He wasn't going to continue completing 83 or whatever percent it was of his passes. That wasn't going to happen. And it took a miracle for him to win that game against a really lousy Bears team. So, and Caleb Williams is far less competent as a quarterback. And he was the other pick at the top. You get him, and who knows what the Bears, they're just not a good football team. The Browns right now are not a good, complete football team. And they're literally 3 years, 4 years away. So that's the hole they dug for themselves.
We went from being a 2-15 team to a 7-18 by having Winston and Dorsey call the plays. So we went from a horrific team to a mediocre team. But we're not a playoff team.
Terry, right?
Oh, my phone just lost you. I don't know.
No, you're still with me.
Oh, okay.
Terry
it's probably
Pluto
mine. I got
just.
What's he done?
It's what he does that, but other people don't know. And every time he does these things, I want to say something about him so badly, but I don't want to get anybody involved. Okay.
Yeah, well, if there's other people still alive in this story, then you probably don't want to tell it.
Right.
Wait till they're all
But,
dead.
but wait a
That's
minute.
my advice.
You know, Jimmy Watkins wrote an article, and he's a schmuck. How Jim Donovan's spirit and mom's magic explain the Browns' unlikely win over the Ravens.
Oh, it wasn't
I
anything to
think
do
that
with Jim Donovan's ghost.
it is balm for people who are suffering because Jim Donovan's passing his family, and I think it's tragic. Don't get me wrong.
Oh,
But I mean,
absolutely. Yeah.
it made for a powerful story, and
Yep.
I feel badly for the family, but that's not why the
No, it
Browns
wasn't
won.
Jim Donovan's ghost and the ghost of Christmas past winning that game.
Yeah, and I'm
No.
not finding the Terry Pluto article, but
Oh,
I
it's not
will
all
find
God
it
and
if
religious
it's here.
stuff.
But basically, what he was doing was he was doing his a grief article about Jim Donovan's
Oh, God.
passing. But what I will tell you is this: Terry Pluto is a grave digger.
Wow.
Terry Pluto, what he does is he uses credentials because he has some arcane, vague religious affiliation as a pastor.
Wow.
Yep. And people who are dying, he goes into their rooms. I said it. Not going to tell you how I know. Won't say that. But
I'm not
when
going
I
to say
read
anything
him
at all.
writing about people who passed away, it's like, can you imagine uninvited using pastoral credentials to get into a dying man's room? Do you understand why I hate him with every fiber in my body? And this isn't Mr.
Wow.
Moohead talking. This is me. It is disgusting what this guy does and calls himself a goddamn Christian. Huh. It bothers me. And one day, I live long enough, I'll tell the rest of the story.
Oh, well,
Those people
yeah.
who showed up here, and I buried it in the program so nobody will know. Nobody will know how many minutes is it into the damn program. 43 minutes into the program. Everybody's gone.
Everybody's dead.
Yeah.
Even my cat just went away.
But just know, if you're a Browns fan, the reason we won is we outplayed the Ravens. The reason the Ravens
That's
lost
correct.
is we outplayed the Ravens. The reason the
Yep.
Ravens lost was because of sloppiness, of bad play calling, of not finishing plays.
Caring.
And they're the same reasons that the Browns were losing before, that when given opportunities, they weren't taking them. And at the end of the game, the miracle worker, the overrated one, Lamar Jackson, started to move the ball down the field. But, when push came to shove, they didn't have any timeouts left, and they didn't want to throw the ball and use the final timeout right away. And so they did finally with Andrews, which is fine because he's not going to run very far once he catches the ball. And the last play was very typical of Lamar Jackson, which he was doing his great escape routine, like being Houdini. And it's like, oh, isn't he amazing? Look how he gets away every time. But when it came time to heave the ball into the end zone, he had to stop and put everything he had into it. And it made it to the end zone, but everybody was there because the Browns didn't do what the Bears did. They actually ran the coverage properly. So
he sort of Billy Kilmered it up,
You don't have any kind of an arm.
No,
Way
he's Billy
overrated.
Kilmer.
Yeah. except he can run. Billy Kilmer wasn't even sober when he played
Billy
half the
Kilmer
time.
may not even be alive now. I don't even know whether he's still alive. Rick can look that one up.
Oh, God. Yeah. So at any rate,
that's one thing to point out, that all the Browns, four of their losses are against the NFC. We're actually 1-1 in our division, and only 2-2 or in the conference. So we got that going for us. We could sneak a wild card at 7-9 or whatever it is.
When the team loses, the post-game show explodes. When the team wins, nobody shows up. Nobody shows up for Victory Monday because this fan base doesn't care. They want to complain.
Because we're awful. We are an awful
thrilled that we won.
Fans.
I was happy that we won. I don't like the Ravens.
I was too.
They stole our football team. I'll never feel good about them. And I'll never feel good about the Steelers either.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
So we're like the only people here, huh?
Yeah,
how many people are watching? I can't tell.
It's a nice, relaxed environment. New York Giants quarterback Daniel Jones took all the first-team reps at practice this week and is not expected to be on a short leash Monday night against the Steelers, despite getting pulled in the fourth quarter last week. He went to the bench in that big 28-6 loss to the Philadelphia Eagles. But let me ask, if Daniel Jones should be benched for losing 28-6 to the Philadelphia Eagles, what does that tell you about Joe Burrow? They were 37-17. Hello. McFly.
Wow. Remind the viewers how much Daniel Jones is making. Didn't he sign like $160 million?
But every time
it was something crazy.
We got to draft a quarterback. If it were that easy, look at all the teams that have tried and failed. And they're all losing organizations. Do you notice that every single one of them are teams that have a history of losing? And the Jets are the biggest example. Oh, we're going to bring Aaron Rodgers in. We're not going to take a chance on a young guy. We're going to go right to this Hall of Famer.
Oh, God.
What they've done. They've dragged him down, tied an anchor around his ankles and thrown him in the water.
Wow.
Yeah. Losing organizations find a way to lose, Jimmy Haslam. That's the bottom line. They make the bad decision, the wrong decision. And for the Steelers, it's great news. They're going to be playing Daniel fucking Jones. And Daniel fucking Jones can't beat them in Pittsburgh. So
no,
Pittsburgh is going to move up. And
that's what I'm saying.
But I have nothing good to say. Never will.
Yeah.
I mean, they're gonna play 500 kind of football and try to squeeze in that way. That's what Tomlin does.
That's what they do. How about those Cavs though? Come on, we're playing the Knicks tonight.
I'm not done yet.
Oh, okay, go for it.
Don't herd me, Topaz. Oh, come on, go this way.
Am I trying to push my agenda? I'm pushing my agenda down your throat of the American people.
Yep. Denver Broncos coach Sean Payton found himself in a very ridiculous situation.
Bountygate.
He denied he was trying to run up the score in the 28-14 win against the Panthers. The Broncos were ahead 28-7 in the fourth quarter when they attempted a fake field goal in what would have been a 60-yard attempt by Will Lutz. Later in the quarter, Bronx wide receiver Cortland Sutton completed a fourth down pass to fullback Michael Burton to keep a drive going. Meanwhile,
wait a minute. Can I stop you there? That Will Lutz comment, wasn't he the teammate on the German Olympic team that got friended with Jesse Owens, and then he went off to war and he got killed? Remember that story? And they were like, he was the Nazi and Jesse Owens was the black guy, and they became friends at the Olympics, and then they kept in contact. Will Lutz, the last name Lutz.
Oh. Oh, no.
He said, no, well, you don't know that story. Oh, well, maybe Rick May does. He knows everything.
So at any rate, to go back to the story, Carolina cornerback J.C. Horn approached Peyton on the field after the
Great
game
name.
for a brief, heated exchange. And he could be seen on video yelling at Peyton that the Broncos were trying to run up the score. Now,
Wow.
that's J.C. Horn.
That's a great name, too. Jesus Christ Horn.
Yeah. Well, I know, Peyton said as he was being asked about the Panthers' reactions. I have a message for the Panthers. Be a better fucking team. If all you can do is complain about teams running up the score on you, don't you begin to wonder why you suck so bad?
Wow, that's hilarious.
You're just a goddamn bozo organization. And for God's sakes, I mean, you know, you're going to run up the score. It's like they wouldn't if you played well.
Yeah, if they were a good team, they wouldn't have the opportunity to run up the score, you idiots.
Now,
Jesus.
the Cavaliers' problem tonight. And it goes
Cavaliers.
something like this. Mikal Bridges, Anunoby, Karl Anthony Towns, Jalen Brunson. Now, Josh Hart, they're saying is questionable for the game, but I figure he'll be there. But it's interesting because Hart played 37 minutes in the last game, and this is Thibodeau at his best or worst, depending on how you look at it. But they just blew out the Pacers, and you know that starting five, and then they got Toppin coming off the bench. They have Sims coming off the bench. They have Cameron Payne coming off the bench. So there are people, they have depth, and they have a really qualified starting group. I mean, look at this game. Bridges had 21, Anunoby had 14, Towns had 21, Brunson had 26, and Hart had 20. But what I'll tell you is this: Karl Anthony Towns will not make it through a season healthy with Thibodeau as the head coach.
He never has, really.
But with this coach, he doesn't have a fucking prayer because of the minutes that are going to be demanded of him.
He'll be dead in December.
So I don't worry about what's happening now, because it's all about what happens toward the end of the season based upon mileage. But the Knicks have the advantage. They're playing at home. The Cavaliers, I'll give the Cavaliers some real credit. The last game that they won, and the three games that we won, have not been against really good NBA teams. We know that.
That's
but there
correct.
are the haves and the have-nots in the NBA.
Yeah.
That's just the way it is. And, you know, we played a couple of have-nots. But this last game, and I know that the Wizards are not good, okay?
No, they're not good.
But we were on the third out of 4 days playing early in the season, and we came out in the first quarter playing like shite. And it was just hangover time, you know?
Yep.
Captain Fierce. Oh, good. He's going to the Blue Jackets game. Yeah,
wow,
good for you.
ice hockey.
Oh, get the puck out of here, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and you know, the Cavaliers started out slow, but man, they picked up the tempo as the game went on, and they did what a professional team would do: is they just ground away. And by the time you looked up, it was like a 23-point lead. Yeah.
I have a theory about the Cavaliers, and it's obviously after only these 3 games, but our bench seems to be blowing people out in the second quarter. Is that really what is happening? Is that we're blowing by their second units?
But think of it this way: if a team is a have-not team, you can imagine how bad their second-tier players are. If their first-team players aren't very good. And what the Cavaliers do have is guys coming off the bench who have experience. You can say what you will about George Niang; he's not in shape, or whatever you want to say. But you know, you've got Ty Jerome. Well, I think Ty Jerome is slow, but you know, the fact is that he did something that Darius Garland wasn't doing in a couple of the games, which Well, you got to share the ball. I mean, the whole point of basketball of having 5 men on the floor is using all 5 of them.
Yeah.
And we have off of our bench a defensive stopper in Isaac Okoro, who has gone back to being what he is, and you're not going to see
Yeah.
him wigging up
He's never
3-point
going to
shots.
shoot ever again. Yeah.
Um, but you have a group of players coming off the bench, and we don't even have Max Strus yet. So
Yep.
we have guys who are going to get substantial minutes. You've got shooters who are coming off the bench. Sam Merrill, who started getting his
Yeah.
shot lined up in the last game against Washington. You got some guys who can put the ball in the basket. You've got Karis LeVert, who has been shooting well early in the season. And
Yep.
and of course, the other teams just didn't have the personnel to hang with that group of people. With this situation is going to be tricky playing the Knicks because Bridges is a guy who is solid and not afraid to put the ball up and score points. Anunoby is a good defensive player. We know that Karl Anthony Towns is a guy who can rebound the ball. He can shoot the ball. He can draw fouls. And, what's going to happen to Jared Allen and to Evan Mobley against a Karl Anthony Towns? If Towns starts shooting the ball from the perimeter, he was 2 for 2 in 3-point shooting. But what is going to be that in the last game? What is going to be the situation? Are we going to continue to bring Mobley out from the basket and allow him to long stride his way to the basket with a 7-footer down low? There's going to have to be a lot of dish off to get some of the balls to the people who are, uncovered. You want to draw the big man to you and then give people layups. Jared Allen is going to have to be assertive and aggressive at the basket. That we know. And
I think Donovan Mitchell's going to have a big game. I think this is the sort of game that we're going to need Mitchell more so than some of the last 3 games. So
Mitchell is there if you need it. He's Spida on demand. I mean,
I think he's going to have to pump in 30 or 40 tonight.
Well, but he played at that pace. He scored like 23 points in the second half against Washington. When he gets it going, he gets it going. When he feels the team needs that lift, he gives that lift. We have a problem with Jalen Brunson trying to defend him. That has been a problem for the Cavaliers when we're playing the Knicks. So it's been and rebounding in general was a problem for the Cavaliers, and I don't quite understand. I think effort had something to do with it, but there is no Mitchell Robinson right now. So that he was hurting us on the boards consistently last year in the playoff. So there's that. Then this.
So is the Knicks team better than they were last year or worse? Or can't you tell yet?
I think that they're all in now. I mean, this is their lineup. They got their big 3. They got Bridges, they've got Brunson, and they've got Karl Anthony Towns. And then they have a good player in Anunoby and another good defensive player and scorer in Josh Hart. That this is their all-in kind of season. So these guys will get older, and Karl Anthony Towns isn't getting any less injury prone. And it's now for the New York Knicks, or it's going to be another rebuild. And we know about that in Cleveland. The Colts are reevaluating everything amid Anthony Richardson's struggles. And Joe Flacco's sitting there, and it's like, why did I come here? He was 10 for 32.
He's terrible, Richardson.
Against the Texans in a game they could have won if he'd done anything whatsoever. So,
I don't know. I mean, the NFL is confusing this year.
And
it really is.
An ESPN The headline, it's Bill Barnwell, a staff writer for ESPN, and and it's like the insane week that was, inexplicable moments from week 8, and,
Yeah, the
and one
Browns
of them
won.
was, did the Ravens lose their ability to catch the ball? And it's like, well, yeah, you're gonna keep making excuses, aren't you? They got outplayed. God Almighty. So,
Ravens.
well, this is
Well,
all
we
what
got the
I know.
Chargers next week. That's a winnable game.
Well, they're all winnable games in the NFL this
Winnable
year,
games.
but you have to play consistently, and you can't make the number of mistakes that the Browns have made up to this point this season. That's all. I
Yeah.
mean,
So
it
who's
is what
calling
it
the
is.
plays? Is it still going to be Dorsey next week?
Yeah.
And they've not announced that they're changing it back or anything like that?
Nope. Nope.
Nope.
But it was Kevin's decision, he insists on saying.
Kevin. Well, way to go, Kevin. Thank you for
Yep.
your decision.
Lovely.
Yeah.
So I'm done. What time is it? Oh, it's 4 after 6. What do you know? It's getting close to
That's
dinner
bang
time.
on an hour, according to my StreamYard here. So how's Topaz doing out down in Florida?
Topaz is doing well. He made a nice transition, and he's right into his doggy comfort zone here in Florida.
Wow. So is the
And
weather
I'm with
warm
Ron
there?
Shane. Go Cavs. Go
Go Cavs.
Cavs. Bingo. Yep.
Go Cavs. Bingo Smith.
Yeah. And we'll be watching that at 7:00 today. That'll be a good game.
I think it's 7.5 hours, isn't it?
Maybe it
Is
is.
it half-hour game? I think
Maybe
it's
it's
like
a 7:30 game.
it might be a 7:30 game.
So
Any good
at any rate,
comments
thanks
in the
everybody
chat?
for
'Cause I
tuning into
cannot-
this edition of Moon. No, you're not going to leave. Meh.
Not going to make you stay longer.
You're not going to
shove my agenda down the American people.
Yeah. But thanks to everybody for tuning in, and I'm sorry that the Browns won and that you're disappointed.
Yeah, the Browns won. Normally, it's a much better show when Moohead is angry and Ronk's pissed off.
Look
and
how relaxed I am. I'm getting good sleep, and I'm feeling good.
I am. I was having sleep. God damn it.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
I'm really relaxed.
But thanks everybody for tuning in, and we'll be back again on Friday at the end of the week. Thanks for tuning in, and until next time, hasta la vista, pasture heads. Good night.